Women Matters at the end of November 22. Today we want to have a report from the Integral Conference in Sedona by Christine. But before we do that, the normal check-in. And I would love to give it to Gertraud. It's such a long time that we didn't meet, so inform us what has happened.
Oh my God. I have two. I'm Gertraud from Germany. I'm living in the middle, Gießen, north of Frankfurt. And I've been part of this group for forever. And this summer, there were several things happening, one of which is I got two new granddaughters, some weeks apart from two different daughters. Yeah, we sold a house. I had a very big contract for, so I'm a coach and consultant, and this was over the summer. And then I had to write a report, and then I'm part of the training for WeFlow. So I did the WeFlow training, and now I'm a trainer in training for them. And so it was like coming home on Mondays and yeah, being home at maybe 7 or 8. And yeah, and I had a course that went over. So it was, and then I got COVID. So I don't know where the months went, but I think now I can say that I'm coming back and I can do the 6 o'clock. So sorry for so long. Yeah, a pause there was so long. My life got pretty busy.
Very happy that you are back. So
yeah. So
can you tell us a little bit about the grandchildren?
Yeah, they are 3 months and 4.5 months old now. And we just visited one of them, the little one, this weekend. And I mean, it's so different to be grandparent. It's like pure love without the responsibilities and yeah, and to see my own daughters being very sweet, capable mothers, that's really nice. All of them, all 3. Yeah, and I was almost a week in Austria with the other 2 from the eldest. I don't know how to say that. It's just like having them on my arms. There is a connection that is beyond like, oh, she's sweet, and you know, it's hard to say, and it's so interesting to see them so different. I mean, we have a picture with both of them next to each other, and one is looking like her mother and the other one is looking like her father, and it's so like own personalities. This is amazing. Yeah, and the bigger one are great too. I was there and the parents away for the weekend, so they accepted me, though we didn't see each other for the COVID time. So I'm very happy with that. And since 1st of October, I'm a pensioner. So yeah, and so I had to bring all that stuff in as well. So no.
A pensioner, is that like when we get Social Security as a senior? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, you get it because you're old. Yeah. Yeah, so you don't have to work for it because you did for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there was a very short summary, and the months went by so quickly. It's incredible.
So Christine, do you want to continue with the check-in?
Sure. I'm Christine Baser Habib from Carlsbad, California, and returning to Women's Matters after missing a couple of sessions away for a couple of conferences. First one, I was in Washington, D.C., and after the conference got to spend time with family members and enjoy Washington, which is a lovely city, lot to see and do there. It's just very nice. All the architecture is beautiful. And had a good time with my family. Saw my sister and niece and family. And then came home for a few days and we went out to Sedona, and there was it was 3 full days. Well, no, dinner, 2 full days, and then a half day. So it extended over 4 days, and we actually were in Sedona for longer than that. Tom was asked to be the MC for the conference, and so he was pretty busy doing that, preparing for that. I know they recorded it, so if anybody really wants to see it, I know it's been recorded.
Excuse me, what is MC?
MC is the Master of Ceremonies.
Ah, okay.
The initial M, the initial C, and it stands for the Master of Ceremonies. So he was just the guy who got up in between people and would introduce the next one, or wrap. He did an introduction at the beginning of the conference and a wrap up at the end. He and Kim Barta did a little skit at the closing. Tom had all the major people come up and talk and do a very brief summary. And then Kim Barta was the last one he had come up, and he and Kim did a little skit where Kim's trying to get the microphone away from Tom, and he keeps trying to grab it, and Tom's holding on to the microphone and won't let him have the microphone. So the two of them kind of start roughhousing, and Tom puts the microphone down his pants with the top of the microphone sticking up out of his pants. And Kim Barta gets down on his knees trying to talk into the microphone, and then they start running around the stage and just essentially being very silly. And that was a good way to kind of end things. There wasn't a whole lot of laughter over the course of the integral conference. We didn't laugh a whole lot. Pretty serious group. But, Roger Walsh talked about karma.
Can we talk about that later? So we first do the check-in, and then we ask you to tell us about the conference.
Well, and the last thing I just want to say is I got bronchitis. I'm still a little congested, but I've been sick for 3 weeks now. And this was much worse than COVID, just having this cough in my chest and the congestion in my head. COVID was like nothing compared to this. So still recovering, but it's pretty good. I'm at work. So, and I am done.
Do you know where you caught it, the bronchitis? No.
No, not really.
Well, I'm extremely tired today. I told Heidi already. I had lots of exams, and our youngest granddaughter got operated, but she's fine, and she will return from the hospital after 1 week tomorrow. So she is really, she's great. She's 19, and she just had her hip operated, and now she moves on crutches. It's very, very stepping steps. So she's good. But I have been reading 3, not all of them yet, but I have started reading 3 books by David Michi. Maybe you know him. He wrote about the cat of the Dalai Lama. And one of the books is called Awaking the Kitten Within. So to be like a kitten. And the other one, which I'm just reading now and which is really fun, is Instant Karma. So the minute you do something, karma happens the next day. So if you do something good happens to you. If you don't, so, and this is really a rather interesting idea, because we just rely on karma developing many lives later. But if it's in the same life, how people use that for the advantage or disadvantage is quite, it's fun to read. So I really could recommend that. David Michi. Should I put it in the chat? Anyway, our weather here in Vienna is wintry, and tomorrow there will be snow. And I won't go out of the house. I just, yeah, and I'm losing weight, which makes me very proud with this interval dieting, eating for 16, no, sleeping, not fasting 16 hours and eating 8 hours. So I have my last meal around 5 in the afternoon, and then breakfast at 9, and I'm never hungry. And it's just a habit to eat, is my opinion. So I'm amazed that I don't eat the cookies, the chocolates. My husband keeps munching. And I'm glad that, because I do it for my joints, not for my beauty. But the lighter I get, the easier it will be for me to move around. Yeah. That's about all I have to tell you. And I pass on to Beatrice. Where are you now, Beatrice, today?
I'm in Portland, which I think is where I was last time, and I'm hopefully settled.
Portland, Oregon.
Hi, everybody. What?
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon.
I've been there.
Oh. It's nice. I'm still getting to know it though.
For me, it was the most European looking city I came to.
Oh, interesting. I feel like cities on the East Coast are more European, but
yeah, but Portland is different. I think it felt so very European, like.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm also tired. I think I'm a little sick. I have a sore throat. I've had a sore throat the last couple of days, but I've had a lot to do, so I haven't been resting. So maybe later today I'll try to take a nap or something. I think the biggest news is that we got, well, you can kind of see it. We got a piano.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Who is
Last, my partner Galen and I, I'm living here with him. We went down to San Diego last week to deal with I think it was last week, to deal with my grandmother's estate, which I think we talked about a little bit last time. That was very hard. The whole house has been destroyed and trashed, and a lot of the items were broken, and piles of things that, papers that there was, a hand drawing that my great grandfather did, but underneath junk mail and other stuff. And, so it was a very hard week for my mother and I. But we discovered a piano that we didn't know was there. And Galen and I asked if we could have it shipped up to Portland. So we did. Yeah, so that's exciting. It needs some work. It needs a tune up. It's been sitting in a house for years unplayed, and neither of us really know how to play the piano, but it's been fun. We kind of walk by and we noodle away a little bit, and now are inspired to try to learn, and maybe make music together. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest news. It's exciting. And then this weekend I found that there was a contemporary dance festival happening in Portland. I've been very curious about what the professional dance scene is like here. So I got to take some master classes and saw a performance last night. And so I'm getting to know the city, and it's exciting. And I'm glad to be back and not in San Diego dealing with the estate, because that was very hard. We will have to go back though early December to do it again. So
Is this a semi-permanent move to Portland? Are you out of New York City, or what are you?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet. I left, yeah, I guess some of you haven't seen in a very long time. I've been all over, every time I've come to this meeting, I've been in a different place. So that's why I was being asked if where I am today and if I'm here. I left New York at the end of June because I was kind of burned out and lost some income, and things were, everything in my life was kind of rejecting me, I think, in a way. Like things were just like not coming together. And I had this feeling like maybe I needed to just take a break from the city, because things were just not happening the way that they usually do for me. And I felt like I was in survival mode, and I wasn't doing the things that I like to do or that I'm good at, that I was just getting whatever small job I can just to get a, few $100s to all add together to pay rent. So, and I just needed a break. So I left, and Galen and I have been dating for about a year, but he lives here, and we didn't like, I mean, he would come visit me periodically, but we didn't like being apart, and he has a house, and he said, well, come live with me for a bit and take a break. And I moved here. And then as soon as I moved here, we like went down to San Diego to visit our families for my birthday. And then as soon as that happened, I got project offers in New York. So I went back to New York as a visitor and did these creative projects. And I was there for 6 weeks. And then I've been traveling a lot. So basically, as soon as I left, I got opportunities, not opportunities that would pay my rent still, but they were exciting opportunities, and ones that I think if I was still living there, I wouldn't have been able to do, because I would have been too busy trying to pay rent. And instead I was able to stay with friends for free and do these creative opportunities. So that was very exciting. So I feel like I just kind of came back to Portland and actually landed here, even though I technically moved here at the end of June. Mm-hmm. So that's my very long check-in and update to those of you who haven't seen me in a while.
Thank you. Yeah. My short check-in will be that the Dalai Lama's cat I heard as an audiobook the last time I traveled to Germany. It's quite nice, really. I loved it. It's not super deep, but it's a course in Buddhism out of the mouth of a cat. So, no, really nice. It's a good idea. Nice idea. As a check-in, yeah, it's night, and I don't really like the dark. I love summer much more. And Victoria is coming too. I have this little new dog for 3 months now, and she will get sterilized in a few days. But she's very sweet, and I often go walk with her. The old one is jealous, but Then as far as other things, I'm doing a lot of meetings with people, and I really love to talk with people and to hold space for processes like the case clinic and these things. And yeah, that's it, more or less. My vegetable garden is full. Soon I have too much, as normally. First you have to wait and wait and wait, and then everything comes all together, and you don't know how to eat everything, but I'm proud of the garden. I don't think I have anything more, but I'm very curious about the integral conference. And so I would give over to you, Christine, and tell us a little bit what topics there were and so on, and how you lived it.
One of the nicer things, the conference started off with a tribute to Terry Patton. And it was a young man who put together, it was a lot of visual montage of Terry, various pictures. And he talked about Terry's life and his contribution to Integral. And some of the video clips were Terry's own words, so you could hear him talking. And he did a video clip very close to his death, I think, maybe within the month of dying was one of the video clips we saw. It was very touching tribute, very, very nice and well done. So that was one of the early things. Ken wasn't there in person and he sent in a video, but I think it was just kind of a video he's done in the past. I don't think it was particular to this conference. He just kind of went over integral theory and I mean, a lot of stuff we've all heard about if we've read and know Ken's work. It was a lot of the same stuff. So I don't think he prepared. Evidently, he wasn't feeling well, so he couldn't do a live. He was supposed to do a live feed, and I think he wasn't well enough for that, so sent in this video. Roger Walsh was there, and he did a very nice talk, mostly about karma yoga, which he has talked about before, and being very intentional and purposeful to do acts of kindness and whatever you do, not just kindness, but whatever you do, really commit to doing it with a lot of intention and impeccably, you know, do it as well as you can. So how to turn any kind of a practice, any kind of work into something meaningful. And evidently Roger went to stand-up comedy school recently. And it didn't affect his presentation. He was still pretty formal about it, but evidently he went to stand-up comedy school and enjoyed it. So one night we watched Grace and Grit. We had the director, just kind of like they had at IEC, they had the director there, not there, on video, talking about making the movie and what that was like. And then they showed the movie to those who wanted to watch it. Bensei was at the conference. It was good to see him again. He kind of filled in. There was somebody who, this is the weirdest thing. I think I can say it now because the conference is over. But I think the day before the conference started, some anonymous source called in and accused Tom Habib and two of the other presenters of being associates of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is the guy who killed himself in prison, allegedly had these sex trafficking of young women. You guys, is this ringing a bell? Okay. So somebody calls in the day before the conference and says these three people are associated with Jeffrey Epstein. So it threw the Lynn and Jose into a tizzy. It threw the hotel into a tizzy because they're feeling like maybe they need to get extra security and then they're going to charge the conference for the extra security. It was a big thing. Tom was like, you know, the show must go on. Let's just continue. And then the other two speakers, they dropped out the day before just because they felt they didn't want to jeopardize the conference. So I don't quite understand, but they did drop out from presenting. So that left some holes, and Bensei came along. And he mostly talked about the integral field and kind of from a historical perspective, how he got into integral, kind of the course of his story, as well as where he sees things going. Namali, I forget Namali's last name. Does anybody know Namali's last name?
Pereira. Isn't it
Pereira.
her?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Pereira. Yeah. She set up a kind of an informal meeting. A lot of people, a lot of attendees came to it. And it was really kind of what's going to be the future leadership of Integral. And I think people are concerned. Don Beck is gone. Ken is not well. What is going to happen to Integral? And differences of opinions of, until Ken passes away, we can't really do anything to change the focus or course or leadership of Integral, and other people disagreed. They were kind of like, no, we have to start at least thinking about it and talking about it. What's going to happen to this field afterward, at least passing around some ideas. So I think there was a bid to kind of see if anybody is interested in having some leadership in this field. And there were a number of people who raised their hands. Bensei was one of them who's interested in continuing to advance the field. The issue of the fact that women need to be a part of that. I mean, no women raised their hands for the leadership, which is interesting. And then, somebody pointed out no women. And it's like, well, you got to raise your hand if you want women to be represented. Somebody's got to take that on. So they discussed that a little bit. I went to an experiential breakout session. They had some breakouts. I went to an experiential breakout session with Bensei, and he had us doing just kind of, I guess, a little bit of we space, really trying to feel the other person. We broke out into 2 people, and then he had us doing experiments about getting close and backing up and what it felt like to be in connection with the person. Steve McIntosh, whose books I really like, they're among my favorite Integral books. Steve McIntosh is now doing a lot of cultural work. And he was there, and we talked a little bit of politics about what's the future. I'm not quite that. The whole focus was supposed to be what's the future, and they called the conference WTF, but then said it was what's the future. And I didn't come away from the conference with any clear ideas about how things are going to move forward with Integral, or how can we put this into our daily practice. How can we take what we learned and, then apply it? I think some groups may have done that better than others. Tom did a presentation on highly sensitive people, and then he did another one on just human interaction. I didn't go to that breakout session, so I don't know exactly how it went. What else? A little bit of organizational. There was one guy who was pretty good talking about organizational leadership, and instead of hierarchical leadership, changing leadership to be more of a circle.
Who was that?
I don't remember his name. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, he was a young person.
Did you see Stefan Segaturi?
I don't recall that. Do you know what he was going to be talking on?
That's the WeFlow guy who created, or
maybe he was the one talking about the organizational stuff. Possibly. I thought his name was Brian, but I don't know. Yeah.
Brian Robertson is that a holacracy guy.
Yeah. So the conference was good. I'd say there was about 120 people or so at any one time, because people kind of came and went. They had to catch planes and they arrived late. So all kinds of things. It wasn't like IEC where there was a lot of interaction outside of the conference room. So we would interact, and we had our meals there, most of the meals, breakfast and lunch anyway, breakfast and lunch. So we would interact during the mealtime, but there wasn't really I didn't get a sense of people kind of afterward, after the day was over, kind of getting together and having a drink, or getting together and just processing what we saw and learned. There wasn't that kind of a environment. I'm not sure why, but there didn't seem to be a lot of interaction among people that once we were outside the room. So
I think that Bense is really good in creating this special way of conferences. And I'm really always been excited how he created that, this atmosphere, no, of the Hungarian conferences. We are in 3 now who have seen the Hungarian. You were in the Monia in the regathering, weren't you, once? So
Yes, it was excellent. And
Yeah.
I think he's really brilliant. He's
yes, I
brilliant.
think so. And
His
I see
knowledge
him.
of the integral is just amazing. Yeah.
I see him a little bit as a follow-up of Ken, and he will change it a little bit.
Yeah, I think he would be a great leader for the
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
One of
Okay.
the good leaders.
Good. So we have heard something about that, and we need to think about how far are we integral and why women don't take over leadership.
I was wondering, because you said it was a serious group, because usually we had lots of laughter at the conferences and great fun. But of course, with Terry having died, and Ken being not well, and yeah, it's probably not easy to lift the mood. Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I fought with Mark still alive. We followed, I think, twice in live stream the conferences in America. They're completely different than the European one. They are much
Yeah.
more on the stage, somebody talking and the others listening. You know, it's much more, let's say, traditional, not really integral how they do the conference.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
they did have some breakout sessions because I know they wanted people to experience that. But again, in the breakout session, the one I did with Bense was very experiential. The other 2 that I attended, we were just kind of talking. There wasn't anything very experiential about it. The other person who talked and she got a standing ovation was Terry O'Fallon. Talked about stages. And Kim also did he's funny. So I don't know, Kim can make you laugh. He did a little joking. But Terry talked about stages. So I'm sure, again, it wasn't anything particularly new. She just talked about stages and how it evolved and that kind of thing. So
She's Kim's sister, isn't she?
yes. Yeah, and I didn't meet him, but evidently they have another brother who was also there. So there were 3 siblings attending the conference. Yeah.
Okay, now we want to go over to the Martinos because they might not be so much in the integral topic as we are. And some Martino with the name Victoria is still hidden. Good morning, good breakfast.
Here she is.
Yes. Oops.
Oh, she's
Gone
she's
again.
sick. So
I'm sick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was at a 4-day silent Buddhist retreat at a mission, one of the California missions, Mission San Luis Rey. Christine knows it, I'm sure, in Oceanside. And it was very intense. It was very intense. Yeah, it was very intense. And it was all vegetarian food, and I'm not used to that. And so I was struggling. My whole body started to struggle in a kind of panic attack. And then I don't know, I picked up some kind of I thought it was COVID, but I took a test last night when I got home and it was negative. So it must just be a flu, but I'm really sick. So you can see me again for a second, but then I'm going to be invisible again. Hello.
Oh,
but
you don't look that
good.
bad.
You're
It's
good.
okay, Victoria.
I have to say, it was Beatrice that pushed me on this. I just woke up a minute ago, but I love, even if you ladies were all speaking Chinese, I would be so happy to see your faces. I was almost moved to tears. I thought it's so nice to be with all my, beloved friends when I'm sick, because it's for some reason, I don't know what it was, but maybe when you do it was my first silent retreat, and definitely my first silent Buddhist retreat. And for some reason it brought up a lot of, I've missed my mother a lot in the last 4 days. And so I felt very much like an orphan. And there's something really hard about going around day and night, not making eye contact with any human being. And you're passing all these people and you're sitting with them and you're eating with them and you're walking around and everyone is in their own space. And I love the silence, but there was something about the eye contact thing. I understand it intellectually, but I didn't really enjoy it, I have to say. I feel like it's kind of counter. It's not, it doesn't feel human to me somehow. I think that's what was disturbing to me about it. It didn't feel any different to me than being in New York City and just the general rule that we have in our society that when you walk down the street, you don't make eye contact with people, or if you're in the subway or if you're going, whatever, that you only make eye contact if you, are really communicating. I mean, of course, that's the principle of it in the Buddhist retreat, that people are in their meditation space. And if you make eye contact with them, that's an implied communication and it throws them out of their loop. So I understand it, but I didn't enjoy that part at all. And it was very strange at the very end of the retreat when the lunch was called a social lunch, which meant that people could talk again. And so a lot of the people there were friends. It was inside San Diego, and I don't know any of the people. So I didn't miss that part. Some people complained that they hadn't seen their friends since the beginning of the pandemic, and they hated having to, well, they didn't say they hated, but it was hard. At the very end when we all shared, we went around the circle, and almost all the people said that it was really hard to see their friends there and not be able to communicate at all with them. So it must have been even harder for them. I didn't know anyone, so that didn't make the slightest difference to me. But anyway, wait, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, just at the very end, we took our lunch outside, and there sitting at a table all by himself was this big burly man that looked like Santa Claus, and totally cheerful. And he just waved. He wasn't at our retreat, and I didn't know who he was. So and then I got closer to him and I saw he had a big orange shirt and it had the Franciscan logo on it. And so I just asked him, I said, where's your habit? Because I was just guessing that he was a monk. And he said, this is my habit. Anyway, he just chuckled, and we just spent the next hour. It was so delightful. It totally relieved the tension. He was waiting for a grief retreat. Actually, he was supposed to sort of usher them. That was the other thing that was really funny, that we were all alone at the mission for the first day, and then the second day another retreat joined, and it was a grief and loss retreat. And the whole time, I mean, if you would want to be really strict and silent, it would have been really annoying, but this is how the mission supports this huge property. The grief people were having the time of their lives. They were so happy and laughing and hugging each other and embracing, and all these people making new friends and supporting each other. And then, and every night while we were having our solemn, final retreat with our Buddhist chanting and then our silence for an hour in the meditation hall, across the lawn was this wild drumming and all these strange kind of indigenous instruments. And at first I thought it was like a football. I thought maybe there was a high school next to the mission or something, and that they were practicing for their football games. But then the second night we looked, and it was in the room of the grief and loss retreat, and they were all playing these drums and instruments. And then the man did a countdown, and then he said, okay, pass your instrument to the person on your left. And then they passed the instruments. And then they started in again, and they were so full of joy. And I don't know, for me, it was a kind of a metaphor, but I haven't unpacked it yet because I'm sick. But anyway, I'm sorry I talked so long, but it was a really profound experience in more ways than one. And I wish I hadn't gotten sick because I really had to push hard the last day because I was in so much pain and so it was awful. But anyway, I love you all and I'm glad to see. I guess I don't have to go off camera, but I will stop talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. That makes me think, what sense does it make, the traditional Buddhist teachings? Now we have learned that a real enlightenment you can have only in relationships, some, at least there are newer movements, and not by yourself, you know, being so. That's what I would like to ask people who are more experienced in these spiritual things. But Beatrice, we still need a little bit of you and also of Gertraud, because Gertraud has to go in 15 minutes. So maybe you have some nice
Go ahead,
story.
Gertrude.
Love the story with grief and everybody is laughing. I mean, that's good. That's celebrating life.
Terrific, terrific.
So one of you, Gertraud or Beatrice.
Gertrude, go ahead since you have to leave on a deadline.
What was the question? What do you want me to talk about?
To talk about something which, you know, like these odd things which we heard now, if you have something in your life lately which makes you chuckle or wonder or whatever. Or some vision for the future.
I was still thinking of what Christine shared about so the difference between Sedona and Sjöfolk. So, and we have been talking about in the WeFlow area about the yeah, and where does WeFlow fit in? What yeah, what level, what area, and yeah, and I think there's a lot going on that people like the teal movement doesn't mean that they are really integral. It just means that there's a new level of business, but it's still in the making. So it's still not like tangible. What is that? And it's very different. I think Ken said when I remember him saying that people can grasp 2 levels above them intellectually. Doesn't mean that they are that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think this is very interesting how this is unfolding. And for me, what I learned lately is really like it's integrating a lot. If it's integral, I don't know, but it was born out of that. Yeah. Yeah.
I was just going to say, you know, integral is a philosophy. It's hard to turn it into, there are integral practices or integral life practices, but, you know, it's hard to transform it into something tangible on a day-to-day basis. I find that anyway, for myself.
For me, when I learned it with Mark and Heidi together, I mean, you learned it a lot earlier, but the integral, the online part, then I had this feeling that now I understand a little bit more why people act in a certain way, why they are like my country, right or wrong. So sometimes it was like, how can people be that way? Yeah.
Right.
Even now in the war, I said, I mean, it's like 1800 something what he wants to achieve. So it, and then to get, oh, this is that kind of worldview, of possibility, of perspectives. So it makes me more like, it doesn't mean that I like it or not. It's more like understandable, or I can grasp what they are up to and why they're reacting this way. Also, yeah, that's,
You're talking about the spiral dynamics
yeah,
model that Ken uses. He's adopted that
yeah,
for his stages,
yeah.
cleaning up, growing up and
Growing
trying.
up, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and for me, there was also this big insight of the difference between stages and states.
Mhm.
Before it was kind of a mishy-mushy something, and then to say, okay, you can have that at every growing up level to have, yeah, experiences in, yeah, enlightenment experiences. So because there were some enlightened masters I didn't like at all, and I thought, well, what's that? And then I realized they are in a completely different level than I thought they should be.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's yeah. And I told you about my brother, so maybe a last update. He had some kind of treatment that's more like general treatment, and that was really good. And he's going to be a father again in March. So his other one is 1.5 years old. Yeah, and I proofread his, or edited his habilitation. So this is a big thing to said I want to have that done before the baby comes. So.
Yeah, and maybe, I don't know if everybody knows it, that he was diagnosed cancer, and it seemed to be the last stage, but he made it. That's good.
More than a year now.
Mm.
So it's almost, yeah, around this time of the year, last, not last year, but 2 years ago. Yeah. So that's also a good news. Doesn't mean they are gone, the lumps, but he, and what Victoria was talking about, it's like when the diagnosis came, it was kind of like shock, and you have to do something, and it was so urgent, and so, and now he's talking about, maybe I don't see my children grow. Maybe it's, so we're talking about the possible death in a way that's very serene, as a possibility, and not as something you have to avoid by all means. So he can, not making jokes, that's not the point, but like, and he even told me that maybe 5 or 10 years ago, he wouldn't have been able to enjoy his daughter that much, because he was always like transforming medicine, like having to do something really big in the medical field. And now it's like, yeah, I just complete that stuff, have my habilitation finally finished, but I don't have any goals I have to achieve. And that's, yeah, it's very, it's good for us as well to be able to talk to him in a way that was not there 2 years ago.
Good. My brother also had, he had surgery, he has a brain aneurysm. And this is the second one, and evidently the second aneurysm was right adjacent to the first one that he had repaired 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago, actually. And so now he had another bleed, and so it took a while for them to decide how they wanted to approach it. He had to wait like about 3 weeks before they finally set a surgery date, but they did it last week, and they go in through the groin and they coil up all the way into the brain to where that spot is, and they release a stent, and the stent closes off the aneurysm, it's pretty amazing, really amazing. And he left the hospital the next day. He was out of the hospital probably less than 24 hours after the end of the surgery. It's like unbelievable, but so he's doing well, but that was scary too. Yeah. I have to be leaving for another meeting, as does Gertrude, but are we going to be sticking with this time? I don't know if Heidi, you had decided that.
Yeah, for me, I was the one who had who said I couldn't do the 6 o'clock, but
exactly.
this is over. The course is over, so for me
Good.
it's fine.
So we will meet this time.
to this.
But we can close early today, but I still would love to hear a little bit still of Beatrice. And how is your life? Because you are talking with older people who have a certain, how can I say, interest in spirituality and all these other things. How is it for you?
Boy, on the spot. I don't know what to say beyond what I said at check-in, but
You can do it as a checkout when so.
I think I'm trying to find some kind of equilibrium while still wanting to go out and do all the things. And I don't know where I guess I'm trying to find balance.
Mhm.
And I realized yesterday that, I left New York because I was burned out and tired. And I still haven't actually stopped to rest and recover and regroup, because as soon as I left, I started doing other things and traveling and doing other projects, and I've just been going. And it's certainly slower here, and there's less pressure and stress. But I'm still having a hard time slowing down overall. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not going to happen, or maybe I just need to be more intentional about it, or maybe it'll come with time. I mean, the reality is I haven't been in one place for more than a few weeks since June. So maybe actually whilst I won't be here for more than a few weeks because we're going to go down to San Diego for the holidays. So I don't know, maybe it'll happen in January.
Okay.
So that's my update.
Yeah, thank you. It's also a question of age, it seems to be, no? Or something really bad happens, like the brother of Gertrude, and then they come out of the doing thing. And I still want to recommend Richard Rohr, Falling Upward, about the two phases in life. And so for you, it's right that you are maybe not getting to burnout, but to still want to create and do things. Other checkouts?
I just wanted to follow up on the Richard Rohr. Just as you said his name, that's exactly what this Franciscan friar was like yesterday. 'Cause I met Richard Rohr in Albuquerque at one of his. Oh, goodbye. Oh, okay, sorry. Is that? Oh, well, we can't do anything. Can't get her back.
No, also Gertraud will leave in a second.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
quick.
I drove out as well. So have a wonderful evening. And yeah, I was always like, now I can come back, and then I couldn't. And
That's good.
now I think I can go to regular schedule again.
Wonderful.
So all the best for you, and see you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah. And thank you all. Monja, do you want to check out still?
Well, I'm still thinking about Victoria's grief retreat and silent retreat. And it's a fantastic metaphor as such, a bonus. Yeah, I congratulate you, Victoria. No, I don't want it that you got sick, because it's a little much, but it's a great opportunity to watch those full of grief. Yeah, great episode. Yeah, that's all about I have to say. Because, and can you show me another glimpse of the piano, Beatrice, because it looks so beautiful.
And then I think Christine started also to play the piano, doesn't she? I think she started. So, oh yeah, wonderful. Wonderful.
And yeah, and the little seat.
So
Fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Congratulations.
So if you study well, you can do a concert with your mother in a few years, I would say. Yeah, and for me, check out, I would be really interested in the relevance of these practices as silent retreats, which feel like being, I did once too, but not so long, like strange that you cannot meet other people. And if it's really needed I mean, you are at home alone and silent all the time. Why should you be silent when you meet people? And then what sense does it have? And is it really useful? That would I would love to discuss one day. Okay, so have a nice 2 weeks. Oh, I expect you in the German group soon.
Yeah, I'll be at the Brunnen. Okay.
Okay. Good. Whenever it is.
Nice
Ciao,
evening.
ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.